What's he about to do? Hold on. Hold on. Woo! Yeah. Everybody is roasting this new anime for two reasons. One of the reasons is hilarious. The other reason is hilarious. The anime adaptation of The Beginning After the End, a web novel by the author Brandon Lee. Yeah, you heard me right, Brandon Lee. If you're wondering why his name isn't as cool as a Taite Kubo or a Chugong, dude's from Seattle, the home of the Mariners, suicidal tech employees. Anybody? Anybody? Oh, better, Macklemore. But an English web novel getting adapted, I don't think I remember a time this has happened. Are we witnessing history? How can you not be intrigued by a story like this getting adapted? Reason number one why this show is getting roasted up the wazoo. If I were to describe this animation, it feels like if 8-Bit had to make Blue Lock season 2, but in 2 weeks, and on ketamine. Definitely on ketamine. Yeah. What's going on here? Think the most unbelievably badass king of the sinister, battle-hungry land. He finally achieved his lifelong quest and slayed all that opposed him to become king above all kings. Through hardship, through triumph, he... What about the kids? The humanity, Brandon, why? In the first episode, they don't really dive into why there's genocide on the screen, but we do flash to, who are these peasants? Where am I? No, I will not call you daddy. Where am I? Dude one day is just face down, yams up on the floor, and oh, isekai. Hooray. Despite the abnormality of a middle-aged, superpowered Hitler being reincarnated as a baby in a new world, I can get behind this MC. The voice of Saitama, Miyuki, Ogen, Hatsuharu, and other deep-voiced niggas are monologuing this baby. Not only a baby, but a baby that uncontrollably... Hey, was that you? Ugh. Meet Arthur, and he might be living his worst reality as he's trapped in a 2-foot tall body with no human functions whatsoever. You will not believe this because I didn't believe it either, but Brandon actually had a say on what studio was going to adapt his legacy project. The work that put him on the map, an accomplishment many would only dream to achieve. The decisive moment, almost like you're choosing a starter Pokemon to begin your journey. I, Brandon Lee, have made my choice. I choose Studio A-Cat. Beautiful, just beautiful. Let me see, what can this studio do? The Mao Army's strongest magician was a human. Okay. High Speed Etoile. CGI waifu speed racer. Okay. Tamayomi. This dude's a gooner. No, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I really hope that studios like Production IG, Trigger, Bones were not on the table during this meeting and we got Studio A-Cat. Nonetheless, you can't tell me this ain't funny. He got to choose his studio and this is what we got? Look at this dynamic rock punch. Oh, yes. He chose this. But this show is definitely going to be one of those magic-centric fantasy adventures that almost pull you in like a magi. Even though this super out-of-this-world animation of dead punching board looks like a blurred 10 FPS animation from 2003. Oh, this is tough. I can understand how a web novel version of this, where they're not moving like they're constipated for 7 weeks straight, would be engaging. What I learned about this show after the first episode is that it goes for that good old show not tell. Like, look at these random NPCs hopping out of the forest after this dad hits the boar. The story tells me there's danger, there's adventure, without just shoving it straight in my face. This show constantly shows flashbacks to Arthur being the coldest king to step on that planet, which kind of makes it funnier because you'll see a scene of him doing the coolest Mission Impossible 1v3 battle ever, and then Brandon. But remember how I said there are two reasons why people are bullying the show to no end? A reincarnated baby learning magic early, a mysteriously edgy past, two new loving parents. I feel like I've been here. I can't put my finger on it though. I underestimated the raw pride of a Mushoku Tensei fan. A show that is similar to their fave drops a single episode and it's Isekai Civil War. People doing side by side saying they're copying Mushoku Tensei bar for bar. I saw people saying, wasn't this supposed to be the better solo leveling? Like, I sort of feel bad, like a little bit, but I really don't. I'm sorry, y'all. This is comedy. This is comedy. It doesn't get better than this. To be fair, there is definitely a homage going on here. I would even say strong homage. You know, grown men spawning into fantasy worlds as newborns with immense magical capabilities, you know, just aren't coincidences. This is almost like if ChatGPT just said, make my essay feel less plagiarized. You know, though, I think my biggest thing that is making this feel more diversified is the MC not starting off like the most bottom feeder, degen piece of filth gooner. You know, that could be written in a story. Oh, don't forget PDF file. He's definitely a PDF file. I don't care. Rudy's character is fantastic. I concur. Rudy's urges, on the other hand, not that fantastic. Unless he has ED. But instead, now we have Giga Chad, the alpha male, the ultimate man. You know, he had to have been waking up at 4 a.m., getting into 10,000 with a Saratoga bottle and a banana peel. I know. And even though in Mushoku Tensei, we know the world and the magic system propels the series above others. But tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the main draw of Mushoku Tensei is the development of Rudy going from shitbag to, you know? So having the main character be the opposite of EDP 445, this is a plus. If you were around for 2015 shonen discourse, 1, I'm sorry for you. 2, you'll know that My Hero Academia had a similar thing going on with Naruto. You know, similar goals, start from the bottom, now we're here, Todoroki and Sasuke, blah, blah, blah. We heard it all. It was a lot. And then you give it a couple years and you're like, no. Yeah, they're not the same. They're pretty, yeah, no. And in that same regard, I feel like the beginning after the end has its own charm to it. They already expanded upon the world despite it having the same races of dwarves, elves, and humans like any other D&D game ever created. I also have pretty high hopes for the magic system. You know, think Hunter x Hunter, but take out 4 of the Nen classes. Yo, Hunter x Hunter is a great power system. Oh my gosh, I need to rewatch. To our surprise, the main character had ki in his past life, which is pretty much like magic, but with no floating rocks. At least I think. Oh, look at that. Bro's entering the baby flow state. Arthur is living pretty well though in this new life. Getting piggyback rides into town, nap time, a loving home. We thought bro was this big bad savage, but you know, I think he low-key messes with this lifestyle. He's even getting caught reading magic books when he's supposed to be sleeping. You know, like us back with the DS. Arthur really went from magic Hitler to loving suburban household. But Arthur is in that mode. The past 2 years of training are slowly swelling up. He feels it. He Damn, bro, I thought you were over this. Look at how bad that must stink. Look at your dad's back. That's a STD. But nah, he's finally awakened. Yo, that might be Rudy on the low. But before I dive more into this show, look at this Google Slides presentation. I put a lot of time into this. I was able to capture the weight of this scene the best way I can. You see how I practice the animation of sliding the character from left to right to really evoke the emotion of this scene. I really wanted to dive in that aspect of danger. And look at this slide that I did here. You know, I really wanted to show how primal and loving this atmosphere is. Yeah, and then randomly we get a shot of a 2002 Power Rangers villain to end off the episode. If I'm gonna keep it completely honest with y'all, I'm probably still gonna be watching this anime, even if it looks like boo-boo. If it's too bad, I'll just watch the web novel, but I'm in. What are your thoughts of the anime adaptation? If you guys were a fan of this show before it was animated, are you ready to run your head into a brick wall? If you guys want to hear me talk about a fantasy anime that did the opposite of what this show did, you can watch my soul leveling video right over here. Guys and gals, thank you again for all the love that you've been giving to the channel. God bless your day, and these were my blank thoughts.